Hello, everybody. I'm Rick DiClemente. Welcome to starself.com and another in the series of Astrology Unplugged. Go Penguins. 2 more games. Okay, so I put in my little plug. Now, tonight's going to be very difficult, and I've really been wanting to do Jared Kushner's chart and Ivanka Trump, and people have been bugging me to do it for a long time. And the reason I haven't done it is you cannot find your birth time. And when you can't find a birth time, it makes it really, really hard. It's very hard to explain. I'm going to show you a little bit about why, but in my opinion, about 70% of the story is missing when you don't have the birth time. And your only choice, well, 2 of the choices, when you don't have the birth time is you treat the person as if they were born at noon, because noon represents the whole day. And that's somewhat truthful and revealing, not like with the real birth time. Another thing you can do is put the sun on this cusp of the first house. So I found some truth from there, but nothing like you find with the real houses. The houses are determined by the birth time. So let's take a look and share the screen, and let's go take a look at Ivanka Trump. Okay. Now, see, this is what Ivanka is. Let me show you, so you don't get confused. How do you understand this? All right. I'm going to go up to here, and I'm going to show you a different kind of chart where you can see the actual signs of the zodiac. Okay. So you see with Ivanka Trump, who was born at, we're just making up noon. She's born on the day before Halloween. In 1981, she is a Scorpio. But since she's a Scorpio, she's somewhat near the middle of Scorpio, those 30 days while the sun traversed through the sign of Scorpio, the whole chart turns every day. And as the chart turns every day, the sun stays in Scorpio. The sun stays matched to Scorpio. These both move, and the 12 houses don't. The 12 houses stay where first house is always in this area. So you can see that during that day, if she were born a little later, okay, it's not showing it. Go back to it. Okay, if she were born a little later, see how our chart moves? See how the sun stays in Scorpio? The sun stays in Scorpio, and all the relationships of the planets to the zodiac stay the same. It's not because the thing is turning, it's because the earth is in the middle, and the earth is turning. And as we turn, all houses is how you're looking at the sky. So, for instance, if you're born with the sun in Scorpio, it means one thing. If you're born with the sun in Scorpio, but you're looking this way, or you're looking this way, or you're looking backward, it's 4 different things. So each planet is in each sign and also in the houses. And since we don't know what the house structure really is, which really can amplify certain planets and diminish other planets, there's nothing we can do about it. We have to just deal with it as if she were born at noon. It's all we can do. But what we do know is what planets she has, in what sign, how the planets match up against other planets. So I'm going to, for my ease of purposes here, I'm going to change the wheel style once again to this. Okay, because it's easier for me to read it. Okay. Hello, Pat Sharp. Okay, now, here's Ivanka with my style of wheel. Okay, let me try one more time. Tonight we're doing her and her husband, Jared Kushner. Okay. So, Miss Trump with the sun in Scorpio up here near the 9th and 10th house would be totally different if the sun were in Scorpio down here. If she were born around sunrise, and all people in the world that have ever been born around sunrise would have the sun down here. They all have different signs. That's why you call it your rising sign. What sign is rising? So if she's born around sunset, the sun in Scorpio would be over here, and the Scorpio would be setting. If she's born near midnight, if she's born near noon. These are called the 4 angles. It's really, really, really important. The ascendant, the descendant, the midheaven, and the nadir. And since we don't have the real ones, which are related totally to the birth time, we don't know. Now get this, you won't believe this, but this is the truth. If you, and someday this will happen, if you were born as a little infant on your way back on a spaceship coming back to Earth and the ship is spinning, you had to get the exact birth time. The way you faced the planets while it was spinning versus this, versus that would make a complete difference. It doesn't seem possible, but it's huge. And in a birth chart, you could have a Neptune sitting out here by itself, means not much. Another person, because of their birth time, might have Neptune right on one of those angles, and it changes everything dramatically. So the birth time and the placement of the planets in the houses is absolutely critical. And we don't have that, but Holy Spirit has guided us to look at their 2 charts tonight, and that's what we will do. Now, I will make a statement that I've come up with today just to get the ball rolling with all this craziness about climate and embarrassing ourselves overseas. I've come to the conclusion, in my opinion, everybody in the world's trying to figure out Trump, and you just can't keep comparing Trump to a normal person because he's not normal. And there is no Trump. Trump is the ugly American. He is the embodiment of the ugly American. I know why he's doing it. I understand it, but it's my opinion now, because everybody wants to know, when's he going to come down? Except the Trump fans. I don't think he's going to come down till we are ready to face the ugly American itself. We've got to start facing the ugly American in ourselves, in our neighborhood, on our TV shows, at the YMCA, all this stuff. When we're ready to face it, this is why you're starting to see, like I told you, other countries don't want to play with us. It's changing. Okay, enough of that. Now, hello, Suzanne. Hello, George. Hello, Linda. The reason you can't unmute yourself is because I had to take control and shut everybody off because the telephones come in unmuted. But if you do want to speak, you can raise your hand, or you can click on Manage Participants, and you'll find Raise Your Hand there. But while I get started into a new subject, let's get going. And we'll start by looking at her charts. Okay, you can see now, once it pops up, you can see Ivanka Trump is born. We don't know, anywhere from midnight to the following midnight on October 30th. So the thing that changes that day, since the moon moves 13 degrees in one day, the moon moves through the zodiac 13 degrees in one day, and this is noon. Her moon could be anywhere from about 2 degrees of Sagittarius all the way to about 14. So we don't know where her moon is. Mercury moves a tiny bit in one day. The sun moves 1 degree. So if we looked at this chart on October 31st, the sun would be at 8 degrees of Virgo, 11 minutes. The sun moves a degree a day. So everything pretty much stays the same. And these charts are very puzzling in their simplicity, especially Jared's. Very puzzling. And when you see a chart that's very simple, that means you'd better start looking harder. One of the simplest charts I've ever seen was a chart of Carl Jung. It baffled me for years until I finally saw what was there, and I saw the stupendous power that was there. But sometimes a chart will fool you because it looks very normal. It looks kind of lame. Sometimes charts look kind of weak. They don't make much of a statement. But this woman's got the world on its ear, so we know that's not true. And most of the reasons because we don't have the birth time. Now, even so, a noon chart will give you some truth because the whole chart's based on the sun's position. Right now, Pluto is sitting near her ascendant. And Pluto is at 18, you see here. Pluto has been going back and forth over this ascendant in the last 2 years, the next 2 years. And it's been doing the same to me, but mine's a real ascendant. And that just totally revamps your whole life. She is a Scorpio. She is Pluto's sun separated by 13 degrees. So she's not really in a Sun-Pluto conjunction because it's too wide. She does have Pluto-Jupiter at the same degree. And Pluto-Jupiter is very misunderstood in astrology, I found. It's usually got to do with power. Okay? Another thing, Scorpio women, not always, but very commonly, in more than 50%, they marry into money. Ta-da! They marry into money. I don't know, sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's unconscious. I think a lot of it has to do with they're just very powerful people, and people with money draw powerful people to them. As you know through your studies, Scorpio is the sign of other people's money. I think it's very much misleading, but we see how she naturally fell into huge amounts of money and power. Okay, so the Jupiter-Pluto is very significant. The Mercury-Saturn is 4 degrees apart, indicating that she's got a very tough mind. She's got a very good ability with Saturn. Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra. Saturn's best place is in the sign of Libra because you've got that very tough, stern, powerful energy of Saturn in the cool, clear, fairly based sign of Libra that can distribute fair judgment. Saturn very much is the judge. So she's got a mindset. Remember, her mind, as with all Scorpios, her mind can only be 3 places. It has to be in the same sign as her sun sign, Mercury in Scorpio, which is a penetrating psychological detective mind. It has to be in the sign of Libra, which is a very smart, socially with it placement, or it has to be in the sign of Sagittarius, which is more of a flippant, psychological, fun-loving sign. You can see that she has 3 planets in Sag, including her moon and her Venus Neptune. I don't care how stiff you may think she is, she's a fun-loving girl. She has a lot of fun-loving qualities about her with all these Sagittarian qualities, planets. And I don't know her well as far as following the gossip and all. She's got 4 planets in Libra, and I don't have to tell you about her beauty and her love of beauty products. And what stands out over here? Mars in Virgo. Okay, when your Mars is in Virgo, it means that you move in a calculated manner. Yes, she's famous for being a Scorpio, which is always behind the scenes. She does have power needs. She's got an out front image of Moon, Neptune, Venus in Sag, so she looks fun-loving and all, but that Mars in Scorpio or Mars in Virgo, these people can be very calculating. I'm not going to cast aspersions on her because I don't know, but Mars and Virgo people can be very calculating, and it can be very good calculating, planning out things, getting things down to the nth detail. What's intriguing to me is this is clearly a bucket pattern. I have taken, for my class, I've taken some planets off of here. I'll put them back on. I'll put the North Node back on. And I'm not going to put Eris on for today. So we see her node falls in the 7th house in Cancer. But this bucket pattern swings from Chiron and Taurus. And Chiron and Taurus is about being an accumulator, accumulating stuff, things and stuff. Watch here now. We will go to the chart of Jared, and here's the two of them together. This is the mixture of Jared and his wife. And when I switch like this on this list, I don't have to repaint the screen. It's only when I do it the other way. This is the midpoint chart between the couple, Jared and Ivanka. Notice everything in the chart swings from Chiron and Taurus. So these people, I've seen it myself and many individuals, Chiron and Taurus people are into accumulating stuff, acquiring stuff, things. We'll get back to the partnership, which is this, later, but I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so we out front here, we don't really see a lot of things about her. We see Pluto sitting on the ascendant. She's certainly going through Pluto squaring all of her Libra planets, which I think is causing all of the ruckus about her products, etc. Meanwhile, Uranus has been sitting here. So Uranus has been hitting all these planets. Uranus has been hitting them all, which is why she's suddenly come on the scene, while Pluto is squaring them. So both things are true. Okay, Venus-Neptune, let's talk about this for a second. Venus-Neptune, anytime you combine the personal planets with Neptune, you got a special story that you got to zoom in on. Since Venus is the receptive yin part, it makes somebody a romantic. Well, you don't think of a romantic with Venus and Sag, but you do think that the Venus next to Neptune gives her the Piscean qualities. There is an air about her of kind of floating and kind of dreaming. That's from the Venus-Neptune. It's in Sag, so it's bubbly. Venus-Neptune people, and this is not scorpionic, Venus-Neptune people have a very strong history of choosing the wrong mate. Why? Because they see what they want to see and they don't see what's really there. I'm not saying he's the wrong one, but I'm just saying that's quite possible. Now, given the fact that she's a Scorpio, Scorpios are seldom wrong. Scorpios have great judgment. They know what they want and they go after it, especially if you've got a Mars in Virgo. She's pretty well-rounded. She has a lot of ability. You see her operating with grace, even meeting foreign dignitaries. That can't be easy. We got to get into where does this come from that the president will oust anybody, but he can't oust her. In my opinion, she's the replacement mother in this chart. In my opinion, Donald Trump's chart pivots on the Venus-Saturn in Cancer, and the problem in his chart is he's getting back at his mother. He doesn't care about the Paris Accords. He doesn't care about the Keystone Pipeline. He cares about money and getting back, because you didn't give me what I needed. You hurt me so bad, you didn't give me what I needed. And my Mars in Leo, I will show you. I will show you, and I will show you by picking everything the opposite of what you really want. Devastating effects to the court, to the climate. I don't have to tell you. In my opinion, Ivanka is the replacement mother. Natively, naturally in the zodiac, a Scorpio sun sign with a lot of Sag is a much more down the zodiac type of soul than a sun in Gemini. She can think with the depths. He can't. He just can't do it. He's reactionary. So I think there's something going on here, and I think with the birth time we would know more about the past life mother issues. For now, I'm going to table it. I'm going to put it on the table, and we're going to go take a look at Jared's chart. Told you it's not easy when you don't have the birth time. Okay, here's Jared. Okay, stop sharing. All right. Okay, anybody let me know if I'm going too fast. I'm trying real hard to go slow. It's not simple, but actually the chart's just not that interesting. With the birth time, it would be. Now, Jared's chart is another one. It's not that interesting of a chart. Notice he's got the Chiron and Taurus too, because they're born around the same year. Matter of fact, they're born the same year. Here we got a Capricorn with a moon in Pisces, just like me. And moon in Pisces will fool you every time. Do not read what the books say about how kind and laid back they are. Dick Cheney had the same moon in Pisces. Joseph Mengele has the same moon in Pisces. It's a very weak placement for the moon in Pisces, meaning it can get overwhelmed heavily by such strong planets as Mars in Aquarius, Uranus in Scorpio, etc., etc. We're dealing with a Capricorn here who happens to have Pluto right on his sun right now, and he's now in charge of the world. This guy with no experience is now in charge of the world. Where'd that come from? That came from Pluto. Pluto's sitting here on his sun, back and forth. I don't care what time he's born, Pluto's on his sun. And what does that mean? And that's going to be the big story tonight. Pluto on his sun. Because no matter what Jared does, no matter what gag orders the president issues, Pluto will test this soul. And Pluto is a righteous planet. It is altruistic. It's got a very bad reputation unfairly. And Pluto is going to test this man in terms of using or abusing his power. So his birth time is unknown too. That's correct. We have no birth times for either, and a lot of famous people are very smart, and they keep the birth time out of the media. One of the most common type of people that keep their birth time unpublicized are astrologers and movie stars. Movie stars are very famous for publishing 2 or 3 birth times, and I'm not paranoid, so I don't care if people know, but a lot of people feel that with your birth time known, people could line up negative forces during timely moments and get after you. That's not my Mercury and Sag, so I don't worry about it. But Pluto going over his sun. Obviously, the guy's walking around like a walking cadaver. He doesn't show any emotion. This is way beyond just a Capricorn sun. He's got his moon in Pisces, so he does have tender emotions. They're there. But as you know, he spent years visiting his very filthy rich father in prison, who was in prison for tax evasion. Did you know his grandfather was from Russia? Interesting. I just found that out today. Capricorns are very stately, they're very disciplined, but you can just see with this guy, there's a whole lot more deeper going on. And what I suggest is probably something like this. Okay, he's probably born with Pluto over here. Okay, probably with the Pluto rising, because he gives up a really strong scorpionic poker face. He's not showing you anything. That's not a Capricorn trait. That's a Scorpio trait. Okay, anyhow. Pluto on his sun will transform him unlike anything he's ever been through in his life. I think he's part of the story. He's part of the script to play out the ugly American, etc. But make no bones about it, Pluto's going to test him, and he will not get away with abusing people. Pluto will stop him. Why? It's not because Pluto's a good guy keeping his eye on you. The inward Pluto knows what's true. The inner Pluto knows where north is. Excuse me. It knows which way is north. I don't know how else to put it. It knows which way is north. Pluto can be reckless, it can be destructive, but it's always got its eye on truth. Now you ask, how did Pluto and the Holocaust end up being truth? That's a whole different story. The guy is extremely scorpionic, and it's my opinion that he and the Soviets, who are Scorpio country, they are among the manifestations of the Pluto opposition to the United States sun that's been going on, and they are main players in the Pluto return, which is forming over the next 2 years. So, you can get as weird as you want, you can get as flipped out as you want, and you see all these people writing all these articles losing their mind, but I told you that after years of studying this, Pluto means, are you going to get real? Are you going to get real? United States, are you going to get real? Greece, are you going to get real? Rick, are you going to get real? It's that simple. But the difference with Pluto is, if you're not, it gets rid of you. Through death, through disease, through illness, through somebody stopping you. I saw a person the other day. I'm not going to mention the person. This female I know, she's been cracking the past several years. She's done cracked. Pluto has done her in. Why? For her, she didn't get real in the sense that she never owned her own responsibility for her life. She kept staying codependent and thinking that that would continue to work like it always has. And Pluto put a stop to it. And what's dismantling her inside is Pluto, but it's not Pluto. It's her own Pluto. There's a sense inside you that wants to stay in sync with the stem, the beanstalk, with the connection to the world. And it knows. What did David Hawkins write? After 50 years of doing psychiatry in New York City, he said most of the problems people have after 50 years was a death wish. Oh, F me. Oh, hell with me. Oh, I'm stupid. Oh, what? A lot of times people emit this saying, we tell them, don't put that out there. Don't put that out there. When they put it out there, the statement of, I just want to go, I want to die, I don't want to live. But what they're saying is, I can't handle it anymore. And that's when Pluto steps in. That's when we see the merciful side of Pluto, which steps in and gets rid of you. Pluto will not allow evolution to be delayed. That's its job. Back to his chart. Okay, there's much more to his chart, but much, much more is hiding because we don't have the birth time. Here we see the Venus, Neptune the same. They both have the Venus, Neptune, and Sag. This is fun-loving. This is somebody who's romantic. This is also somebody who can be very underhanded with money. Very, very underhanded with money. Whenever Neptune's involved, you can go one way with it, which is very dreamy and idealistic. The other way is very underhanded, lying and stealing. So this is 6 degrees apart. So it's not too close, but it's significant. Here we see 3 Libra planets. Here we see, let's see, the Sun is at 20, the Mercury is at 26. They're both square to Pluto. These two are square to Pluto. Now, as I've told you, since the zodiac is a tool, if we put the Sun on the first house, then Pluto comes from the 10th house. So this is somebody with power needs, somebody with a cold Mercury in Capricorn. This is somebody who can be very austere. And when the Sun is on the first house and Pluto goes up to the 10th house, this is somebody who could be interested in power, ruling from the very top, no matter what. I don't think it's personally enough of a factor to display that, but it's a major indication. This is not good. And this is, I've seen many, many, many people with this, and a lot of people do just fine with this. But you have to have other things in the chart to compensate. Okay? The Uranus is in Scorpio. The Mars is in Aquarius. Means he's got a strong need to do things his way. The Chiron in Taurus at 13 is square to Mars. So it's going to be, I'm going to do things the way I want to accumulate wealth. Not simple at all. Okay, let's stop for a moment. If you have a question, just raise your hand and I will unmute you because I don't want to push it too fast. Or you can do the raise hand under the managed participants. Do you have any questions so far? But I'm telling you, 80% of the story's hiding from us because of the birth time. Any questions at all? Yeah, Erica, go ahead. Well, you muted yourself. I don't know how you did that. Go ahead. I'm trying to unmute you. Go ahead.
I'm trying to unmute at the same time.
You cannot unmute.
It's like 2 people trying to open the door at the same time from opposite sides. Even though you don't have their birth times, when you do their composite charts, would that help you in some way?
Yeah.
Figure out what their birth charts could be?
What their birth time could be.
Or birth time, I meant, yes.
Well, yes, the only way it could, since composite charts, you don't pay any attention to the signs. The only thing in signs that we pay attention to, since they both have Venus, Neptune, and Sag, their composite chart therefore must have Venus, Neptune, and Sag. But if one's a Scorpio and one's a Capricorn, you did the midpoint and it ended up in Sagittarius, doesn't make any sense. So you pay attention to everything in the midpoint chart except the signs. Now, where it could help you, for instance, we might see the date that they got married, and we overlay the date they got married on his chart, on her chart. We see nothing, but we put the midpoint chart up, and we see it overlays beautifully. Maybe Jupiter's sitting right on the 7th house cusp of marriage. Other things that will give us a hint. And if we can get a hint to what's happening through what happened to their common experience, it could give us a hint to the time they're born. I'll tell you right now, doing rectification and figuring out birth times is almost impossible. It's really, really hard to do. Look how many years, and we still don't know what time the USA was born. And we've got thousands of experiences to work backward. But you had a good question there, and the answer is yeah, it can tell you. And I'm going to show you more about their midpoint chart. I've done a lot with them through the years. They're called composite charts. And what they are is you take your sun and the other person's sun and you find the midpoint. The moon, and you find the midpoint. And you construct the chart. Well, I've done a lot of them, and I think they're about 50-50. I've seen them be pretty weak, and I've seen them be pretty significant. So you have to take them with a lot of salt.
Thank you.
Erica. Any other questions? Yeah, you can't unmute yourself because of the way it's set now. Karen, yes, dear.
I have a comment. When I look at that Pluto sun, the way I look at a chart, that's a definitive indicator that he is somebody that projects a lot of his power onto a powerful male. And the fact that his father was jailed, and he went to see him every weekend when he was in jail in Alabama. This is somebody who wants to please, who aligns himself with a powerful male to kind of symbiotically have that projection onto it. So to me, that aspect makes a complete sense.
That's really good. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So anyways, that's
I want to show you something. I'll leave you on the air here. Take a look here. Here's the midpoint between Jared. Solar Fire doesn't name these things right. Here's Jared and Donald. Okay, let me see if it can paint for you. Here's the president with Jared. Tell me what you see here. This is not simple, but this would be talking about what you're referring to. Here's the midpoint of the president with his son-in-law. Now remember what I did here, and I've done this successfully. This is the real chart of Donald Trump mixed with the sun's noon chart. And I have found them to be valid, so don't worry about that. Notice how they both have the Mars Neptune in Scorpio. I mean, this is a very tricky, troublesome aspect. This can be very underhanded because the Mars Neptune brings out the underhanded tendencies of Scorpio, and the Mars is do it, just go ahead and do it. To exercise this in a highly evolved manner takes great spiritual effort. This is a BS. This is a BS conjunction. Jupiter, Venus, hi, we're here to sell you used cars. Hi, go straight across 12, 13. What do you come up with? You're pretty much in the middle of Sun, Mercury. So what I do with this axis is I treat these two as a pair and these two as a pair. So what happens here, if you put the sun on the first house with Mercury, the Jupiter Venus ends up here. You get the sun Mercury here, you get the Jupiter Venus here. So this means in Libra, aren't we charming? Don't we have the nice clothes? Aren't we going to say the right words? And you got a feeling that underneath all this joviality and social positiveness is the underhanded Mars Neptune, which is trying to steal your power. And you would know more about this when planets come and hit these two. Now,
and that, not to, just to add to what you're saying, and that would even magnify it more on his part because he's already ready to kind of, align his power with a powerful male, because it's how he kind of validates his identity.
I agree, and I really wonder, why is the president so open to Jared? I don't think you're going to find it in the midpoint chart. Why is the president so open to Jared? Is it what he watched Jared's honorable sustaining of his father in jail? Is the fact that Jared's so rich? Yeah, Linda. Are you doing your hair or raising your head?
No.
Linda, you're on.
I don't know, but I would suspect that the answer to that would have to do with Ivanka.
A little triangulation going on here.
Well,
let's try putting all three charts together. We can do that. Hold on, please. Then we'll get to what you're saying. Let's do even though two of them are noon charts, it'll work. A composite, a group of Donald, Ivanka, and Jared. Here are the three of them put together. This is intriguing. Here's the triplicate. My. You can do this up to 10 people, and it really works. Let's ignore these two for the moment. You've got a moon sticking out all by itself. That moon, since we don't have birth times, that moon could pivot 3 or 4 degrees, which puts it right under Pluto's auspices right now. Pluto's at 19. So Pluto's on this moon, and this moon's in the 8th house of other people's money. Let's examine and zoom in closely. Sun, Jupiter, Mercury. Look at all these at 16, 17, 18. We've just had this explosion of all these Uranus energy, 16, 17, 18, hitting these three planets. Jupiter protects them. In other words, it keeps them rich. The moon is square to what? The moon is square to the sun. Chiron is in Cancer. So what the moon energy tells me is they feel emotionally safe in their bubble, period. No one else allowed. In their bubble, period. They trust that each one won't screw the other. Now, I really know little about them because I concentrate on not knowing about them. Yes, Karen. What are your other thoughts, everybody?
The other thing that I was going to say is, with that moon in Pisces, he's going to be able to read Donald Trump's mood. So when he walks into a room, he's already going to kind of feel the vibe. And so that is always going to, for a narcissist, that's always going to be the ticket. Like, this guy just is so in sync with me.
Oh, these guys,
he doesn't speak much. He feels it.
Yeah. And remember, Trump only uses 2 words, always, which reveals everything. And usually Geminis use the word interesting. He doesn't use that much. He talks about the word fair and treat. Fair, treat. Didn't treat me, didn't treat me. Treated me good, treated me bad. Fair, it's not fair, it's unfair. That's all it cares about. And when you see people who are very Cancerian, they will wipe the slate clean if they think you're going to treat them fair. You're not going to hurt them. And if you're going to hurt them, they got you crossed out. Look how quickly he turned President Obama off once he got joked at that social event. I'm telling you, that's what Trump's about. He's about being treated. He feels disrespected.
And I think because of the Pisces moon in Jared's chart, Jared doesn't have to work that hard to kind of feel the lay of the land and kind of know how he communicate with them.
I think you're exactly right. And I also think with birth times and with other harmonic charts, we would definitely see these 2 or 3 working together in past lives. We definitely would.
Yeah.
So you've got the, one moment, Karen, please. We've got the ugly American on stage. Everybody's flipping out. People are trying to do something about this. Now he's going to try to gag Comey. He's trying all the tricks because that's what he is. Karen DeBerry, go ahead, dear.
Real quick, one of the major influences on Jared is Netanyahu. And I don't know how he plays into this, but they were like father and son. That has come out a couple of times about how close they were and how he knew Jared from the time he was a small child. So I don't know where that's in this, but I just know that had to, if he needed a father influence, I sort of wondered if Netanyahu could have been a real strong father influence.
It makes a lot of sense to me because I don't get father at all from Trump.
No, I think that when you watch them together, and I'm talking Jared and Netanyahu, there is a lot of emotion there.
Netanyahu, I believe, is a Libra. Yeah, go ahead, Marilyn.
You pretty much got most of what I was going to ask about. I was concerned about Jared's natal chart and what his moon was square to. I may be mistaken, but I thought his moon was square to Neptune.
Let me go take a look. We don't want that, do we? Because it's already in Pisces. Charts, Jared's. You are right. It could be, since we don't. It's 8 degrees. It's 8 degrees, but since we don't have the birth time, it's about a 50-50 chance. Now I'm gonna lay something on you that I've studied closely. Okay, I have a moon in Pisces. I am a Capricorn. The moon in Pisces is very, very weak. Here's why. It's a very powerful place if you're a guru, if you're in the East, if you're in the ashram, if you're into selflessness and merging with the oneness. It's very weak when you're into the combative dog-eat-dog world. It doesn't confront, it hides, it wants to go in the corner, it wants to be safe, it doesn't like confrontation.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
Hold on a moment, please.
Okay.
Hold on. Therefore, what I have found, and I'm talking about Joseph Mengele, I'm talking about a lot of really, really nasty killers, a lot of nasty serial killers have the moon in Pisces. I was talking to this tonight with Liza before the show. It's not, this has been gnawing at me. It's not just that the moon gets overwhelmed by the other planets and the moon is rather worthless, because the moon in Pisces is sensitive to all beings, sensitive to others. I think the moon in Pisces actually can become very nasty because it sucks up. It's so sensitive. It's so sensitive. I think it really sucks up the negative, harsh traits of the planets around it. And I got to do a lot more research with it, but I think there's a good reason to follow this instinct.
Well,
yeah, I believe in
I just want to add one
now,
comment.
wait a minute. Now, I think the next person whose hand was up was Marilyn.
I just wanted to add, I was concerned back in February, mid-February, because I felt like he should have been on 60 Minutes and had done an interview.
Who are you referring to?
Jared.
Why is that, Marilyn?
I just felt like he was hiding. He was not being very forthcoming in his...
We will never get this guy out of hiding. Never.
Say that again?
You'll never get him out of hiding.
Oh, I see.
No way. We need the birth time. And even then it would be hard. Okay, we're running out of time on this. I got time for 1 or 2 more questions. I welcome our newcomers, Jamie Dabia and Sandy and It's nice to see new faces. Anybody want to say something new in the crowd? Just raise your hand. Oh, Jamie. Jamie, you look so forlorn, like this is just too hard. Is that right? Jamie, you're new to the crowd and you need to be initiated. And what that means is we need to know your sun sign. Virgo.
Sorry, I'm a Virgo, yes.
Oh, okay. Welcome. We love Virgo women. Okay. Oh, you were able to unmute yourself. That's good. Welcome, ye Virgos. And in case you have not seen it, I've got a really nice article on YouTube. Just type in Rick DiClemente Virgo, and you'll see a nice article. It's a 90-minute video chopped down to 30 minutes. And I really work a lot with Virgos. Most of my clients are Virgo women. And I have a great affinity with them, and they're having great progress. It's a big time for Virgos now. By the way, I never mention these things. My website is starself.com, and on there you can link to, if you want to get a reading, there's buttons you can push on to set up a consultation, etc. Sandy, where are you at, Sandy?
Where am I at?
Yeah.
Des Moines, Iowa.
Well, welcome from Iowa and the rag bri. I'm one of the few people that knows about the rag bri.
Yes.
You guys know what the rag bri is?
Yes.
It's
I know.
letters. These people ride a bicycle across the state of Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And those each RAGBRAI, those letters stand for something, and that's a long drive, but it is pretty flat.
Yeah.
Don't you try that in Western PA or West Virginia. Okay, everybody, thank you.
You almost read for me last week because I was the birthday one day after Barbara.
Oh, okay, okay. You were the one day after. Okay, Barbara.
10, 11,
But the Earth time can change everything so much.
Yeah.
I want to thank you all for this part. I'm going to stop the recording, and we'll go on with the study of Mark's chart. But I don't like to put the people on YouTube through this. So bye, you YouTubers, and thanks.